Hej allihopa och välkommen till Pengaflödet-podcasten. Mitt namn är Emily.
Och mitt namn är Anna.
Vi håller på med fastighetsinvesteringar i Storbritannien. Och den här podden kommer handla om just detta och vi kommer varje vecka ta upp relevanta ämnen och intervjua personer som vi finner inspirerande.
Hej! Välkommen till Pengaflödet-podcasten.
Hej!
Och idag har vi James och Gordon från Skottland.
Ja.
Hi guys!
Hi there.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
How are you doing?
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you for being on it.
Looking forward to sharing some of our stories with you. So, looking forward to the questions.
So, could you just tell us about your background?
Yeah, very much. I'll go first if that's okay, folks. Okay, so it's James here from Alliance Property Group based in Glasgow in Scotland. A little bit about my background. I have been sort of self-employed most of my life. Never really had the desire to work for anyone. Done various jobs, within that self-employment. And property is always something I've been interested in. And 9 years ago, I done a series of property training courses with a large property training company in the UK, and pretty much started investing and packaging up property deals and selling them on to investors. So a bit of both, investing plus packaging up and selling on, so property sourcing. Done that successfully for 9 years, sold a number of properties in that time, built up a reasonable sized portfolio in Glasgow, purely aimed at the lower end of the market and predominantly the social housing market. And that has pretty much made myself and my wife financially free, and during that time we have continued to source properties to investors, initially investors based in the UK and more recently investors based overseas. Alliance Property Group sort of came about 5.5, 6 years ago. Gordon and I got together and seen that there was an opportunity for us to basically bring together all our experience, contacts in the property industry, both in Glasgow, Scotland and the UK. And Alliance Property Group has now been trading for about 6 years, and we've helped a good number of investors from all over the world to basically build and start the process of a property portfolio that hopefully will make them financially free. The business is going from strength to strength every single year. We're busier and busier, we've got more clients, and there's no sign, to be honest with you, of that kind of slowing up. The business is really growing, expanding and becoming more popular throughout the whole of the planet, I have to say, because we've clients Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong, North America, mainland Europe. So it's a worldwide business. So that's really a little bit about myself, a little bit about my start in the property industry, and also about Alliance Property Group. And I'll now pass you over to my business partner Gordon, who will tell you a little bit about himself. Gordon?
So, for myself, I've been investing in properties for about 26 years now. When I started investing, there was not for me the same amount of sort of focus or strategy on property that is given today. So I was very much self-taught, and bearing in mind that 26 years ago there was no mobile phones and there was no internet, so everything was done in a completely different way, and I sort of fell into property by almost mistake, because my wife and I we had our own individual properties, and when we decided to buy our first house together, we were in a fortunate position to rent out the two properties that we had. That was very successful. We could see something in that and that's when we really started to get the bug for buying more property. So we get into that, buying property, renovating, flipping some properties, keeping some, adding to the portfolio, and really sort of developed that way. During that time, I had a very successful corporate career, latterly at a very senior level for a large global blue chip PLC company, where I was the national sales director, but I still was investing in property, so it was a hobby for me. The job that I had latterly, I don't do it for so long because it's such a big job. So I left that job in 2007, and my wife and I then set up a property lettings and property management business in the city centre of Glasgow. So it was highly successful. It was during the financial crash period where people were wanting to rent, they couldn't sell, so they were only able to rent their properties. So it was good timing for us to do that. Some people thought we were crazy, but after leaving a very, very comfortable, successful career to go and do that, it was making a big jump. It was jumping off a cliff, basically. So we sold that business 5 years later for an offer we couldn't refuse, and I was able to retire at the age of 45 7 years ago. So still continue to invest, very much financially free, and that's where I met James. I was asked to do some public speaking across the UK. I'd won a few property awards, UK National Landlord of the Year in 2014, 15 and 16, and was asked to do some public speaking across the UK, and that's where I met James at one of the events, and we basically, cut a long story short, set up Alliance Property. So that's where we are today, and that's a bit my background as well.
So, that was very interesting of both of you, the introduction. So, next question that we were thinking about is good and bad with investing in Scotland. And I know you both are from Glasgow, so the surrounding areas as well.
Yeah.
Who should answer on this one?
Yeah, he should go first.
Should it be James or Gordon?
So the Glasgow is quite a unique city in the UK. Glasgow is the fourth largest city in the UK. It has a population of 680,000. So it's not a massive city, but it's still the fourth biggest city in the UK. And Glasgow is quite unique in a number of different ways. So firstly, it's the second financial capital of the UK after London. It's a world-leading centre for bioscience, very high-tech industries. Example, Glasgow manufactures more satellites in the world than anywhere else apart from Silicon Valley. It is a very strong local economy, very diversified, with many modern, new, highly paid jobs, I've explained, but we also do have traditional businesses as well. It's not only rich economically, but culturally as well. Amazing history in the city that goes back to 1500. It's got one of the oldest universities in the world, Glasgow University. And, from a cultural point of view, it's been voted the best cultural location in the UK, again, even more than London. So it's very diverse, very rich economically, and also culturally. It's been voted as the best place for millennials to live in the UK. as an example, and it's a very, very popular location for employers, for people to come and live because of the high quality of life, and also, great affordability combined with, fantastic place to live, very safe, secure, and with all the cultural events as well. So it's a very, very strong, and that's been reflected from a property point of view, where Glasgow is always up there with one of the highest location areas in the UK for property prices, for demand of properties for sale is always very high, and also for renting as well. It's a very, very strong market, all levels of the market. So it's an excellent city, very safe, very secure, very inclusive. It's one of the friendliest places in the world, and it has got a lot going for it. So that's why, Glasgow is such a great location to live, to work, and also to invest, because there's demand at all levels of the market. And like what we do, we sell entry-level properties from the sort of £35,000 to £70,000. That's the kind of sweet spot of the properties that we sell, that really give maximum yields and returns, high cash flow, and also with a unique property scheme that we have called the Guaranteed Rent Scheme, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So a lot of great things at Glasgow. Of course, we're not perfect. Glasgow has got the same challenges as most cities in the world have got, but they're not massive problems. They're not creating issues, but there's not a lot of bad things about the Glasgow. And as we say to investors who come to have orientation days with us, when they see the city, they're quite amazed about how beautiful it is, how open it is, the green spaces, but also the tremendous opportunities with properties. And Glasgow, I think, must be one of the most unique cities in the UK, because there is not any no-go areas, there is not any bad areas within Glasgow to invest. Every single area in the whole of Glasgow is a great location to invest, of course, depending on what your investment strategy is. So it's a fantastic city to live in. We love it, and there's a lot going for it, for sure. And that is continuing because there's massive job employment going on at the moment because of the industries I've mentioned, the businesses. It's a very, very strong situation at the moment. So it's a great city, as I said, economically and culturally. We love living here, of course.
Okay, what areas beside Glasgow do you cover that's in the surrounding areas?
Well, Glasgow has a population area of 680,000, as I've mentioned, and surrounding Glasgow is called the Greater Glasgow Metropolitan Area, and there's 5 other local authorities, and within that area there's a population total, including Glasgow, of 1.8 million. The quite unique thing is that getting around Glasgow, you can get from north to south, east to west of Glasgow in about 15 or 20 minutes. In the Greater Glasgow Metropolitan Area, you're looking at a drive time of sort of 30 minutes from those areas into Glasgow, or 30 minutes, depending on location, to Edinburgh. So we sell properties in the Glasgow and Greater Glasgow Metropolitan Area because it's a large conurbation. All these areas are self-sufficient with their own schools, businesses, medical, hospitals, etc. So they're all very good areas within the Greater Glasgow area, and is equally popular for properties to rent and to sell. So that's the area where we sell those properties in the £35,000 to £70,000 level. that are offering tremendous yields when it comes to investors. Okay.
So why do you guys source, and why don't you keep on like getting more properties, or do you still do both?
Why do we continue to source, and why do we not buy everything ourselves? Well, the business that we have, Gordon and I set it up because we wanted investors, from all over the world who contact us to look for properties to achieve the same level of success and ultimately same level of financial freedom that both Gordon and I have. Individually, we still buy properties, but most all the properties that we get offered through our business, Alliance Property Group, we source on to investors, because when I started out investing in property, I didn't have the financial freedom that I have now, and everything I have achieved, with regards to financial freedom and the wealth that I've got, the funds that I have every single month is all through property. And it's nice to give back. It's nice to give back to investors who have challenges, because I had challenges when I started. And in particular, most of our investors are based overseas, and they have the added challenge of not being in the UK. So we have a business that people, deal with. They buy properties through us, they trust us, they like us, and we've really become, I would say, one of the best sourcing companies in the whole of the UK because of that reason, because we take great pride and pleasure in looking after our investors and putting them in a position whereby they can have the same level of financial freedom that both Gordon and I have. Different experiences for both of us. We started at different times, we invest in different parts of the market, but we very much collectively can offer so much, and that's the reason we set up Alliance. That is the reason that we continue to source properties. Gordon, I don't know if you want to add anything.
In terms of myself, similar, I suppose, to Jim, I've built up quite a sizable portfolio over the years. So I sort of enjoyed my sort of full financial freedom, as it were, at the age of 45. But to be honest, with not doing very much for a couple of years, and that's why I sort of really get back into investing and dealing a bit more with property, which and rewards. That's where I met James, and that's why I thought, or we thought, setting up Alliance Property Group was such a great idea. Because James and I are very, very similar in a lot of ways. Being very moral, ethical, transparent. There's no bullshit with us. We're passionate about helping, passionate about giving back. So yes, I have bought a handful of properties in the last 5 years, but to be quite honest, I don't want this to be a kind of a big-headed sort of reply or answer. Is I don't really need any more properties than what I've got. So it's all about giving back and helping, and that's why we love doing what we're doing. That's why we do Alliance Property Group. So yeah, just very, very rarely, hardly ever. I think there's been one property, in all honesty, out of ones that we've been offered that has been bought, which was by James a couple of years ago. So any properties we get are always given back to investors.
Nice answers. Giving back is a good thing in life. You get what you saw.
So what's the good part of sourcing, and what's the bad part of sourcing?
The good thing about sourcing is to allow people and give them the opportunity to achieve the success that we have, the financial freedom that we've had, which is very, very different, both Gordon and I, but it's to give people the opportunity through sourcing good properties in good areas with all the financials working for them, to give that opportunity to investors. And that in turn will obviously give them the opportunity to do what we've done, sort of give up the kind of day job, as it were, and become financially free. It basically allows you to do what you want, when you want. For instance, Gordon was in Dubai last week, he was still working, so It's a great feeling to know that you can get out your bed in the morning, do what you want, when you want, and really you're in control of your own destiny. And that's a huge thing, because we've all been there where we've not, or are still not in control of our own destiny. But Gordon and I are in a very, very fortunate situation that we are. We can do what we want, when we want. As far as bad thing about sourcing, probably the most frustrating thing about sourcing is when we get offered deals. We package up the deals after doing the financials, the due diligence, pass it on to investors, and they go through the whole process, the buying process, and they're getting very, very close to the point that they're going to become the owner. And sometimes, not very often, but sometimes it happens that the vendor, whatever the circumstances are around it, he will pull the plug on the deal being completed. And that's very, very frustrating, because it's frustrating for us because we've put a huge amount of work in to get it to that point. But it's also very, very frustrating for the investor, because they're getting built up to the point that they're going to become the owner of a property that's going to put them on the road to financial freedom. And that sometimes doesn't happen in terms of the property completing. And that's very, very frustrating. And that's probably the only downside to sourcing. Most importantly, with regards to sourcing, we meet a lot of fantastic people, both on Skype. Some of them come to the UK, they spend time with Gordon and I, and we become friends with them. And that's a huge thing for us, and it's very, very important for us. So good and bad. There's not a lot of bad, just that one thing, but most of the good side of it is very, very good. I have to say, and really, really enjoy what we do.
Yeah, we know what you mean. We can understand that you put all your work into it, and also the investor, they probably put their goals up for the next couple of months, and that property was probably one of those goals. So we can see your point in that. But we were also wondering where you get the deals from. Do you have leads, or is it just by reputation?
In terms of when I started out sourcing, the properties that I sourced were on Rightmove or on the web portals. But as you continue through the kind of process, you sell deals, you approach estate agents, you start to get a bit of a reputation for being able to sell deals. So there comes a point when you don't have to look on the web portals, i.e. Rightmove, looking for deals. People will come to you because you will become very much the go-to person in your area to sell properties. So estate agents, financial institutions, administrators, banks, accountants, through time they will approach you because they know that you have a reputation for selling deals. And the reason that I had a reputation initially, and no doubt Gordon before we met, and collectively when we got together, was because we have the investors who are keen to buy through us. And a lot of the reasons for that is what we've explained in terms of us having a good reputation, we treat people right, we do the right thing by them, and most importantly, we look after them and we hold their hands through the whole process. And the backup to that is the power team that we have around us, i.e. the solicitor, the broker, the builders, the furniture suppliers, the management companies. So everything that I've explained there, kind of gives all these different leads the confidence to know that if they give you a property, you're going to sell it very, very quickly. So we don't talk a good game, we actually take action. And we do sell deals very quickly, and people know that, and they come to us because a lot of the people who we deal with are going through either some sort of pain in their life, i.e. debt, divorce, death, all these things that kind of come in terms of that sort of accelerate people having to sell their properties very, very quickly. So that's really, in summary, how you become, how you get your leads with regards to properties. People come to you. It's a reputation thing, and it builds up over a period of time. Gordon, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
97% of the properties we sell are off market, only offered to us by predominantly vendors. We're always direct to vendor, through circumstances that James had said, where because of the reputation they have, been able to do business professionally, ethically and quickly. So they come to us to sell that property and to sell it quick. And all the benefits that we negotiate with the vendor is passed on to the investor. So it's off market, it's below market value, genuine below market value deals of between 15 to 40% discount below market value, which in turn helps them enhance the yields, growth in capital value, and all the properties that we sell only really require a cosmetic basic refurbishment. So the whole process from start to finish is quick, and when we get that reputation, as James said, you get traction on it. So that's why 97% of the deals we get are off market and direct to vendor, as well as others coming from other sources that we get.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so you're like superstars in Glasgow. Like you're famous like Henrik Larsson.
Well, I don't know about
Not
that,
as good as
but
him.
thanks.
We do
So
our best.
Yeah.
my second question is then, what type of strategies do you use? Are you like sourcing HMO deals, or is it social housing, or is it buy-to-lets, or is it flips or commercial?
Combination of all.
Yeah.
Core strategy of what we do is buy-to-let properties in the Glasgow and Greater Glasgow area, because that's the area we live in. We know the market intimately, you know, almost in a street-by-street situation. That's where all our contacts are. That's where our partners, our power team are. So all of that benefit of us having the knowledge, the experience and the people around us, that is passed again on as a benefit to the investor. So that's why the whole process from start to finish is a seamless process, and that's why we keep everything simple. So the properties are off market, below market value, buy-to-let properties producing very strong cash flows, very strong yields, and with the buy-to-let properties, there's a never-ending demand for those type of properties, either in the private market, private rented market, or again in the social housing guaranteed rent market, which is something they have in Glasgow that is very, very unique to Glasgow as well. So that is our key strategy, and that's why we keep it simple in everything we do from start to finish. And you know, I wouldn't say, I don't like using the word experts, but we're very knowledgeable in that sector that we're in. So we don't pretend to do things or get involved in things we don't know about. We just don't touch it. So, so to answer your question, buy-to-let market, which can also be suitable for social housing as well. Those are two key markets.
So we often hear about a lot of social housing and guarantee rent scheme in Scotland. Could you please explain what this is?
Yeah, the guaranteed rent scheme in Glasgow it's a form of social housing. It is a very, very secure form of social housing. Now, the reason it is very, very secure is because the two guaranteed rent schemes that we deal with are both funded by the UK government, and the long-term contracts, substantial contracts that are going to last for a minimum of the next 10 years. So in essence, what you do as a landlord is you give the property to the guaranteed rent scheme. The guaranteed rent scheme will take on the property. They will guarantee your rent every single month. In some cases, there might not be a tenant in the property, but they will still guarantee your rent every month. All repairs, all maintenance is covered within the property. So anything at all that needs done, the guaranteed rent scheme will not only carry out the work, it will also pay for the repairs itself. All bills, i.e. gas, electric, broadband, council tax, all these bills are also paid by the guaranteed rent scheme. And probably the biggest thing on this being over and above the fact that the rent is guaranteed, there is a huge amount of supervision from both guaranteed rent schemes to make sure the tenant in the property is looking after the property, and that in itself is obviously going to sustain the standard of your property, and basically it's looked after for the next 10 years. The rental levels that are paid in the property as well are, in most cases, are comparable with the open market rent, but in some cases the rent might even be higher than the open market rent. Now the reason for this being is that the guaranteed rent scheme have a huge requirement for properties throughout the whole of Glasgow, and they have to incentivise you, the landlord, to give them the property and for the landlord to allow you to keep the property. So for them to do that, they need to offer you at least the comparable rent with the open market, and in some cases above the comparable rent. A lot of investors that we get in Glasgow, they ask the question, or they pose the question, it's too good to be true. It might sound too good to be true, but I can assure you it's not, because both Gordon and I have a substantial number of properties with the guaranteed rent scheme. So we've bought into something that we are actually selling and promoting to our investors. So we believe in it, we've bought into it, and we very much encourage our investors to buy into it as well. And probably the biggest thing about the whole kind of two guaranteed rent schemes is you're really making a difference to society, you're making a difference to people who ordinarily might not be able to, on their own efforts, achieve the level of property that they will get on the guaranteed rent scheme. So a lot of these tenants are very, very grateful, they're very happy, and that as well adds to the fact that they will look after the property for as long as they're in it. So it's a fantastic opportunity, fantastic organisation. Both Gordon and I have bought into it, and going forward, me particularly will continue to buy into it, Gordon as well potentially. I've even got family members who have properties on it, so I'm very, very much preaching about something that I do believe in and I'm part of. So that's in summary the guaranteed rent scheme, and I'll let Gordon add to that as well. Gordon, please.
Thanks. Maybe just to clarify something for the listeners. Now, all properties in Scotland are freehold. There is no leasehold properties in Scotland. Also, there is not any property types that are just for social housing. There is not any areas that are just for social housing. So there's not any sort of ghetto areas or bad areas, and any property that you buy, so it doesn't matter if it's a city centre property or an area in the east end of Glasgow, that property will either be suitable for the private rented sector, the open market, or potentially it's suitable for the guaranteed rent scheme. So there is not any demarcation of areas or property types, and that's why, going back to what I said earlier, Glasgow's a very inclusive, safe city to live in, because there's not any areas just for certain people or property types. It's very mixed, and even in a block of flats, for example, in a block of maybe 6 flats, you could have 4 that are owned and lived in by the owner. You could have 1 property that is rented in the open market, and you could potentially have 1 that is on the guaranteed rent scheme as well. So very inclusive, and that's why it works so well, and that's why there's not any bad areas in Glasgow, because it's a very, very thought through process that works extremely well, and that's why the guaranteed rate scheme is looking to continue to support that and potentially expand it as well, because it works so well.
That sounds very interesting. Like other cities should like copy the Glasgow model, or is this like widely in Scotland, or is it just the city of Glasgow?
Well, it's quite unique to Glasgow, that type of housing, so it's only at Glasgow. But you're right, you know, that there's other council areas in England that are looking at following that type of model, but there's certainly not any signs of that being copied anywhere else. So it's only unique to Glasgow. And hopefully soon we will be announcing something which will confirm the expansion of the guaranteed rent scheme to an area next to Glasgow, which is going to open up many new opportunities of tremendous properties, tremendous yields, and more opportunities for investors. So we are particularly excited about that because we've been working on it for about 2 years now with the guaranteed rent scheme. So we're nearly there. We know it's going to happen. We know the area. It's just the time scale of when that's going to be. So watch this space.
Oh, looking forward for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So can you tell us about a deal that had some unforeseen events happening that you couldn't see from the start, and it pretty much how can I say it, make a good deal bad? We all know stuff can happen in a refurb or whatever it is, but that there was some kind of unforeseen event that made you go like, oh no, not this. So our listeners have something to have in mind for their projects, to look out for.
The only thing I can really think of that has been a huge issue with a couple of things with properties. You mentioned the refurbs. Sometimes once you take on a property, you know, and you start, the builder goes in and he starts to take things to pieces. For instance, he might take a kitchen out or a bathroom out. Potentially, you might find something within those 2 rooms, you know, as an example, you know, that maybe need a little bit more work, a little bit more money spent on it. And these are things that we can't foresee. These are things that surveyors can't foresee. No one can foresee these things until we actually pick up the keys and the owner, you know, allows us to go in and start the work on it. So that's probably one of the, you know, the kind of main things. The other thing being, you know, in some cases when investors buy in Glasgow, you know, there's a refurb carried out, then surveyor might go out and do a revaluation of the property. Sometimes that valuation can be slightly less than what we anticipated. Now the reason being for that is because, you know, in some cases between the date of our investor buying that property and the revaluation happening, there might be other sales in the area that have maybe brought down, you know, the valuation price. These things don't happen that often, but you know, sometimes they do happen, you know, but in terms of anything beyond that happening and anything serious happening, it's never happened either in my own portfolio building, because, you know, we do a tremendous amount of work to find out, you know, what's going on with the property and where the true value is in the property, if there's issues within the property. So those 2 things are, I have to say, they're things that we can't control, you know, ultimately, but with 98% of the time we can control them and make sure, you know, that there isn't an issue with either the refurb or the revaluation. But property is not an exact science, as you know, guys, and all your listeners will know that as well. But I think we do a very good job, and I think we've been very, I was going to say very lucky. A lot of that luck's down to you know, the amount of work and the amount of effort we put in and knowing your area. That's the biggest thing, knowing your area and knowing what's going on and where the values are, and, you know, that's very much the case. That's why we concentrate on Glasgow, because we are really the experts in Glasgow when it comes to property sourcing and property investing. So that's my take on it. Gordon, I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Ironically, a document we've just done that will be put on the website in the next couple of days about how we get our properties. This is a question we do get asked quite regularly. Information, how we can help investors. So that document about how do we get properties explains that of all the properties we got offered, only about 65% we will ultimately decide to take on and send out to investors. So there's 35% of properties we get offered we do not take, and that will be because maybe it's not the right location, maybe there's an issue with the property that we know about, or the financials don't work on the property, or there's some reason. So 35% of what we get offered we do not take on and sell. So that's why investors, when they get a deal proposal from us, they know they're buying in confidence from us because the financials are accurate, the rent levels are accurate, the refurbishment levels are accurate, but very, very, very occasionally something crops up, as James had mentioned, but that's very, very rare. But, property is not exact science, and, it's something we care passionate about getting it right.
And what about yourself, your best deals and your less?
Yeah, you have a lot of experience in investing, both for yourself and for sourcing. Of course, you're great at that. But if you would take from your own experience, the best deals and the worst deals, what happened in those deals?
My point of view, I don't mean to be, what would you say, big-headed, but all the deals that I've bought have all been good deals. Now, the reason for that being is because I have only bought in Glasgow. I know Glasgow very, very well. I know the Glasgow market very, very well. And I have the right contacts to bring me, or I have had the right contacts to bring me the right deals. I think where, the deals maybe don't become, or deals become more problematic is when you start to stretch yourself, you start looking at other areas, you start looking at other parts of the country, other strategies, and that's when problems can start to arise. And that is very much the case for quite a number of investors that have come to us to potentially ask for help because maybe the deals that they've bought through other sourcing agents have not been so good. And there's only so much that, Gordon and I and Alliance can do to help these investors. We do try very, very hard to help them, but it doesn't always work out. In terms of figures, I don't really want to go into figures in terms of, unless you want me to do it, in terms of what's been my best deal and my maybe not quite.
Yes,
Right, okay.
Why not?
All right, okay. Well, I bought a couple of properties 5 years ago. No, just before I met Gordon, actually, it would be about 6 years ago, and they were part of a property portfolio that I bought in Glasgow. It was 6 properties. The 2 properties in question, I bought them for £20,000 each, and they're now worth about £70,000. They're part of a portfolio. The investor who was selling, really needed to sell these very, very quickly because the bank was about to basically take the properties back off her. So I was there. She got a good deal. I know the discount might seem like a huge amount, but she was very, very happy. She got a good deal, and I still own those properties. They're with the guaranteed rent scheme that both Gordon and I deal with in Glasgow. So that was probably my best 2. The other ones that I've bought as well have been good. Maybe the discounts have not been so substantial. Worst deal, bought one at 50, I think it was about £52,000. That was about 3.5-4 years ago, and it's now worth about 65. So it still went up in value. None of my deals have dropped in value. I'm very, very careful where I buy and what I buy, make sure it's the right deal, knowing it's potentially going to be an area that's going to be regenerated, or it's going to, see huge improvements over a period of time. So I'm kind of very, very select in what I buy, but I do buy, you know, on a regular basis, and you know, it's very much, it's a mixed bag. Gordon, no doubt, will tell you some of the properties that he bought 20 odd years ago, and some of the properties he maybe bought maybe 1-2 years ago, you know, very, very different. But at the end of the day, property is very much a time thing. If you're in it for the long haul, sort of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you buy the right property in the right place with the right tenant in it, and that property will always, always, always increase in value over a period of time. They say on average properties double every 10 years. Some places that does work, some places it maybe doesn't quite work. If you buy the right property in the right area with the right discount, then you're always in a very, very good place, folks. Very good. And most importantly, have the right people around you while you're doing it. That is very, very important. Okay, that's me finished. Over to Mr. Campbell.
Thanks. Interesting question. You know, not wanting to sound too sort of arrogant. There's not any property which I've bought that has been a bad deal. I've never lost anything on a property that I've sold, and certainly properties that I still own. You know, ones from 20 odd years ago when I bought it, 43. No, I think it was £34,000. It's now worth 120, for example. You know, through that length of time. But I think the one that sticks out as the best deal that I've done was one that was, I had to get a calculator there to work out how long ago it was, 21 years ago, where we bought a house. It was a 4-bedroom house. We bought it for £140,000, and it was in a beautiful location, and the people were desperate to sell. We went to see it. We thought, you know something, this property's really got potential. It just stuck out as having great potential, great property. So the couple selling it, we came to an arrangement. The ironic thing was they bought the house that we lived in, so I did a house swap, of course, and my wife then had itchy feet, wanting to start a family, and the location of the property didn't suit, so we sold the property a year and a half later after refurbishing the property, and we made £120,000 profit, and that was 21 years ago. It really was the best deal financially.
That's great. Never lost a deal. Never gone bad. That doesn't happen often, but like you said, the due diligence both of you guys are doing, and you know the areas and streets in your backhand. So
Yeah.
I think that does a lot. So have any of you invested in other parts of the UK beside Glasgow, of course?
All I was going to say was, no, I haven't, and I, like you guys, I've been through Legacy. I've been all over the UK. I've looked at so many different areas, looked at so many different strategies, but I always come back to Glasgow. Now, the reason being is because I know Glasgow very, very well. I understand the market, and as I explained there to you before, I've never lost any money on a deal. I've never bought a bad deal. And you know, that's the thing that brings me back to Glasgow, because everything that I want to achieve in property, and everything that an investor, whether it's myself or other investors that we meet in Glasgow, can achieve through buying in Glasgow, and predominantly buy-to-let properties. You know, if you want to buy an HMO or 10 HMOs somewhere else in the UK, you can buy, you know, a number of buy-to-let properties that will give you the same income, the same cash flow as those HMOs. So I have no need to go anywhere else in the UK to invest, but I have been all over the UK looking at different areas, and I always come back to Glasgow. And that's why my portfolio is very, very strong. You know, it's at the kind of lower end of the market, but the capital growth that I've achieved on my portfolio, it's went up about 35 to 40% in the last 6 years. So I'm more than happy to stay in Glasgow. Opportunities that have been offered to me throughout the rest of the UK, I've not taken any of them because Glasgow has everything that I need. That in summary, no, Glasgow's the only place. I've not invested anywhere else. So I'll pass you over to Gordon and he'll give you his take on it.
Thanks. Well, likewise, don't invest anywhere else in the UK apart from Glasgow. You know, keep it simple, keep it compact, keep it near you know. And my properties are at the higher end of the market, predominantly. I do have some on the guaranteed rent scheme, but predominantly my portfolio is the higher end. So, you know, I like to be around where my properties are, Glasgow city centre, and to say it, you know, I have seen other parts of the UK. I take great interest in reading and seeing other parts of the UK, what's going on, the opportunities, but Glasgow is where I only invest and only invest in buy-to-let properties, no other property strategy either.
Okay, that sounds reasonable that you invest only in Glasgow when both of you are from Glasgow. I mean, if we were living in the UK, we will do the same. If we live in a city.
Would you know, like you guys know Glasgow?
Yeah.
We're visiting you, so we know how good you know the city.
Yeah, we know. We know when you took her out on that day. You really knew everything. Every corner, every stone. So, guys, what are your goals then? You have succeeded all of this success, and you're still helping people to succeed financial freedom. Yeah. And so, what are your goals like for the coming future?
For the next new decade.
Yeah, for the new decade.
Is that personal goals or business goals or both?
Both.
Both would be interesting.
Of course, both is very interesting. It's always good to pick some successful people's brains.
Yes.
Well, personally, myself, from a personal point of view, is continue to be happy, to be healthy, to make a difference to other people's lives by giving back and helping to inspire in some way. And, and from a business point of view, very similar, to that is helping, giving back, making a difference, and, continue to love what I do, because that's a question we get asked quite often. Why do you do what you do when suppose you don't need to? Well, everyone's got to have an interest, and it's very important to do what you love and what you enjoy, because if I didn't enjoy it, I didn't love it, I certainly wouldn't be doing it, for sure. So it's to continue to enjoy what we do, and that goes back to what I mentioned about the key sort of principles of the business. That's very, very important. Keep it simple, keep focused on what we're doing, and all what we want to do, which is to help, give back, make a difference, and investors to achieve the success of property that we have, that will happen. So, and that genuinely gives us great delight in seeing that happen. And, because we do build long-term relationships with clients where, our first investor, nearly 6 years ago is still buying from us today. They come and see us every year from Hong Kong with their family, and we have a few investors like that. So they become friends as well as being, long-term clients, and that just makes what we do so good, so enjoyable, and why I get out of bed and still do what I do and still work when I'm away on holiday, for example, because I love what I do. So that's the goals personally and the business for me, I would say.
Okay, my goals, business-wise, very, very similar to Gordon's in terms of, like want to give back, want to help other people. Because when I started, Gordon and I sort of got into property from a very, very different starting point, and I had nothing when I started, absolutely nothing, and it was a struggle. It's been great. It's been a huge learning curve for me. I mean, when I was on my own doing this to start with, it was completely different to where Gordon and I are just now. So, I've experienced kind of different sides of it. No doubt Gordon has as well. I'm not putting down what he's done in that. So, but it's just to give back, to help, because there's a lot of people that that kind of struggle. We get investors that have got maybe a small amount of money, some have a large amount of money. So it's nice to help them all at all different levels of the market. Personal wise, everything I do, I don't really do any of this for myself from a personal point of view. I've got a slightly, what would you say, difficult family that I have to deal with, and I'll spare you the details on that, because I'm not looking for any kind of sympathy or pity or anything, but everything I do for them and one particular member of my family. So I become financially free. I'm on that road just now. I'm there, but I'll keep doing what I'm doing because for his benefit, and also to allow me the time to spend quality time, sort of being there for him, looking after him, and really because he needs it. He needs quite a lot of kind of care and attention and stuff like that. But and it's very, very humbling for me to be in the position I'm in just now. And a lot of that is down to hard work, determination, but also a huge amount of that's down to Gordon. And the relationship I have with Gordon, working relationship, what he's helped me with, and I will be eternally grateful to the day I'm either not here or I can't remember his name for that, because you really are only as good in life as the people that are round about you, and no doubt Gordon's experienced that as well in his own job that he done, getting the right people to work with you and help you. And I've been very, very fortunate, and the people that I've had around me that have allowed me to achieve the goals that I can, and Gordon's a huge part of that. He really is, and I can't sort of thank him enough for that. But the whole picture of that being is surround yourself with the right people, and anything is possible. And if you have the drive, the determination, and the need to do it, anything is possible. Because when I think where I am just now to where I was 9 years ago, it's completely two different planets. So that's my personal goals, and in terms of business wise as well, my goals. So
okay, yeah, that sounds very good for both of you, family and giving back to people. Like that, I think that's basically what we as well like to do, or like it's on our agenda.
Yeah.
That I mean, that's what life. Yeah, that's what life is all about, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, absolutely, totally.
So, besides property and trying to help investors build their own property portfolio, what hobbies do you have?
What hobbies do I have? I like working. I like sports. I like golf, soccer. I like relaxing. I like going on holiday. I like spending time with my family. I like spending time with my wife on holiday, and trying to get as much downtime as possible in life. And really just relaxing, kind of giving back as well. And that's a very, very important thing to me. So many different things and so many different people. So hobbies and interests, that's pretty much it. When I get the time to do anything, that's what I enjoy doing. That's me.
Hobbies for myself, hobbies. Well, I would probably call myself a professional holiday maker, as James would say, because I have very fortunate to have a house in Portugal, which I enjoy going to regularly. It's like a second home, of course, so I can still work and do stuff when I'm there, whether it be Skype calls or stuff to do with the business. So I really enjoy that. Enjoy reading when I'm away as well. Reading business books or books on autobiographies. And hobbies, well, you know, I was an exceptionally keen and serious golfer, which I don't play as much as I used to. But so, in spending time with the family, you know, I really, really enjoy that. These are precious times. As you get older, you appreciate these things, certainly, you do when you're younger. So that's very important to me. So yeah, that's the hobbies.
Yeah, it seems like we both have the same hobbies beside golf.
Yeah, you have.
Okay, we can maybe teach you golf the next time you're over.
Yeah, maybe then I like it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about you were saying I can ask you the first question then. The best book. What book do you recommend, or is your best book that you have ever read? It can be business, it can be autobiography, it can be what else, whatever you want.
On you go, James.
Oh, okay. Well, autobiographies are, something that I do read. I probably read more of them than anything. Sports autobiographies, but I've kind of taken recently to reading business books and successful business people. I've written biographies, and they're very, very inspiring, and uh, ones that I have read, I don't know, you might not have heard of them, but Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's what started me on the property journey. And I've read another couple of books which I've read 2 or 3 times. One was The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, which I found really, really interesting. And Gordon had said about, I've gone off my track now, Slight Edge, oh yeah, business about being very, very simple. And Jeff Olson with The Slight Edge and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now the basis of these 2 books to me is very, very similar. But, they talk about business, about being committed, about being determined, having a need to do what you're doing, and the most important thing is treating people well and looking after people, and really it needs to be a win-win for anyone that's in business. And these books, along with a lot of the biographies I've read, are written on that basis, and it's very, very important, and that's very important to me as well. That everybody needs to get something from the deal. Very, very important. So 3 books that I've read, very, very inspirational for different reasons. As I say, autobiographies also, but they're kind of on the same basis that everybody needs to get something from it. It needs to be win-win. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but that's my answer.
Yes, I've read 2 of those 3 you mentioned, and those are really good, like you said.
Yeah, very much.
What about you, Gordon?
Yeah, I've written 3 books down while James was talking there. So one I'm actually reading at the moment, which I started to read when I was away last week. It was called The Principles of Success by Jack Canfield, who it's quite, he sort of looked at a number of very successful people in business, politics or industry, and over the years he's basically summarised it into this book. So it's very interesting to understand the mindset, and from all of that, what he thinks are the key principles of success. So interesting read at the moment. The one that I read when I was away on holiday in December was called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And again, it goes back to probably, which I've always done in my life, is keeping everything simple, or trying to keep everything simple. And this book was about focusing on that one thing. And when you focus on that one thing, you become very successful at it, and you become the best at it. And that's really the main theme of that book. And one that I read, I think August or September time, which I thought was fantastic, was called Start With the Why, or Start With Why, by Simon Sinek. And it's really understanding or explaining the why, the where, and the how of why we do everything. And it looked into several businesses that were successful and some that weren't. Very, very interesting. And businesses like people who have a reason why they do what they do, and they become the most successful. Whereas businesses that might have a great idea, but they don't focus on why they're doing it, they just focus on the how. And again, it's just a nice sort of understanding of mindset of people and businesses. So that was the 3 books that I've read recently that kind of stick in my mind, to be honest. And autobiographies, which I've read last year on Obama, Trump, and David Cameron, the recent UK Prime Ministers, very recently. Yeah, that's the books.
Yes, that sounds... I need to read some of them. That's a lot of books.
The one I would recommend, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, is one I would probably most recommend to you if you've not read that one, Nana. And I know you're a keen reader on these business books, so that's a good one.
I'll put that in my wish list then.
Yeah.
So what about movies then, guys? Or do you even watch movie?
The ones I can tell you about. In terms of movies, well, my wife and I go to the pictures or the movies probably once a month. We try to do that, and if there's any decent movies that come out. And I've got, to a certain degree, a low attention span to movies. So it has to be action movies for me. So like Batman, The Hunger Games, for example, Bourne Identity, those type of action films, as opposed to things like Titanic and all the kind of the softer ones. They're not for me. So it's got to be action films, fast moving.
That's great. He has the same taste as you, Hunger Games.
Yeah, I like those. Nana doesn't really look at movies, you know. He looks for 5 minutes and he sleeps the rest of the movie. So he can't really say any good movies.
It depends.
The last 3 times I've been to the pictures, I've been asked to leave because I fall asleep and I start snoring and I can't hear the film. So I'm not allowed back. Just anytime I kind of sit down and, you know, if I've got nothing to do, I'll just fall asleep because I don't get enough sleep. But the last 3 times, my wife says I'm not going back because I started snoring, and it was like an action film it was on, and they couldn't hear anything. All they could hear was my snoring, so I got asked to leave. So apologies for that one. I can't really answer that one to any great degree. That's just me.
So you don't have any movies then? You like Nana, James?
I do like movies, but you know, it's probably more watch them in the house on like Netflix or on a DVD or something, but actually going to the movies. I like action films. I like actual films, real life events. I'm not really into fiction and stuff like that. It's not really my thing. You know, that's me, I'm afraid. Love me or loathe me, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, but then I think we have asked all of the questions that we wanted to know, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any questions for us?
You're obviously, we got to meet you when you were starting out on your property journey, and you know, kind of watched it from afar. and been very pleased with, I think, you starting to see that success, which is fantastic. It's just maybe from our point of view, what do you think you've learned the most in the last 2 years or year and a half since you started investing in property?
That's a good question, actually.
It is.
Yeah. I feel like the most that we learn, or the best lesson, is to really, really, really do the due diligence really, really hard. Because I know you guys do it hard and you have the overseas investors perspective from it, but a lot of sources doesn't take into account that we're overseas, and a lot of brokers don't do that. They think we're expat. So really, like, triple check everything before we can say that a deal is a good deal and that we will get a certain rate from the mortgage broker, because they probably give a good rate and we're happy about it, and then we go back to them again and they say, but you expat, and we're like, no, we're overseas investors, and then that just messed up the whole deal and we have to go back to scratch again. So that will be what I think we always done our due diligence, but like you really, 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 really need to put time into that.
Yeah.
And I can add that the networking that we've done, getting to know you guys and several people, to have that network that you can just send a message to someone and they can help. That's really powerful. If someone told me this 1.5 years ago, I wouldn't believe that. I knew it would be hard work, but I knew it would be hard work because when you go on the courses and so they sell you this dream, and if you don't have tough skin and if it doesn't go your way that you thought, you need to pick yourself up. So I think the mental toughness is something I didn't expect it to be so much, but that's all right, because both of us have the goal in mind.
I think as well.
I think. Let me go, James.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think from the point of view, we're in Glasgow, we're based in Glasgow, we know Glasgow. I've got great admiration for people like yourselves who are from another country. You've done a training course, I've done the same training course, but you're actually coming into another country and you have to put your trust into people that you've never met. And a lot of these people are people that are maybe recommended to you. And you and I both know that some of them are good and some of them are not so good. For you to do that is very, very difficult. And I put myself in your shoes. If I was to go to Sweden, to start investing in Sweden, how easy or how difficult would it be? And how much confidence would I have to be able to do it? And I really do. I have great admiration for you, and I'm really, really pleased to meet you in Glasgow. I really do hope that you get the success that you deserve, because you're putting a lot of hard work in, and anything at all that Gordon and I can do to help you going forward, whether it's directly investing in Glasgow or with other things like what we're doing tonight, more than happy to help, really are, because you're going that extra mile, and I think that's tremendous, really do.
Thank you so much, James.
And I think what you mentioned there, Nana, is absolutely fundamental. Don't think James and I have got to where we are today without humps and bumps and highs and lows. So we're enjoying now the fruits of our labour, and it does take a lot of stamina physically and mentally to achieve success, regardless of what you do in life. And there'll always be ups and downs, of course. So that's where your mental tenacity comes in, the mindset of your goals, your dreams, why you're doing it, and what you need to do. And if you do that and focus on that, you'll always achieve what you want to do. But it's never easy. There's always hurdles. there's always a solution to a problem, and if you focus and work your way through that, success will come. And I'm sure you're starting to see successes from that. You'll learn from it, and the best is yet to come. I'm sure it always is. As one door closes, another door opens, and then another 5 doors open, and it just then becomes that traction of success. But to get that initially, yes, it does take a lot of hard work, determination, and getting the right people around you that you can trust to help you achieve your goals, for sure. So,
amen. Amen.
We really appreciate all your help, and when we ask you a question, you always answer and stuff like that. We really appreciate it.
So my second question is, how do people get hold of you guys if they would like to connect with you guys? Instagram, Facebook, website,
email address. Maybe?
Email, yeah, maybe not email. That's maybe too long. Oh yeah. Website, yeah.
Well, the website is funny you should say that. We've got a new website that will be officially launched probably next week. Our website address is www.allianceproperty-group.co.uk, and we're on Facebook, which is at Alliance P Group. We're on Twitter and also on LinkedIn. Email, which is inquiries at allianceproperty, all one word, -group.co.uk. And happy to help any investor with any questions, even they put the email to you, you pass it on. Happy to help, because we've got many investors in Sweden and Scandinavia who are buying from us, and now very good customers, good friends, and happy to help in any way we can. So we're always there to help. Lots of information we can share. Some of that does go into social media, but we do send a lot to our investors, as you know. But the new website, which we invested a lot of money in, also is going to have an updated customer management system, which basically is going to enhance the information we provide more regularly, updated more regularly, and enhanced even further in the type and amount of information we give, either in properties or just general information. So that's been a big investment for us financially, also time, and it should all be ready to go next week. So that's particularly exciting, and that'll tie in quite nicely to what we're quite excited about for the next phase of the guaranteed rent scheme. So it's all good, all very exciting, and happy to help and share that in any way that James and I can do.
That's great. Then they know where they can find you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, guys.
Always contactable.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Yeah, and taking your time.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome.
Advice.
Phil enjoyed it. Some good questions there. Got the brain thinking for a bit. So we'll hear from you soon, and take care.
Yeah.
Yes, take care.
Enjoy your holiday.
Okay.
We will.
Right.
Don't be stressed. Invest. That's our ending. That's how we
Nana
end.
says that every ending he says that.
That's made me smile. Good. All right.
Right, folks.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Right.
See you guys.
Take care.
Thank you very much,
Soon.
guys. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
So Dave or Gordon or James, don't be stressed. Invest.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey.